The United Nations. Learning objectives. Understand United Nations history. Identify UN objectives. Explore UN organs. Learn about Security Council. Examine specialized agencies. Analyze India's UN role. Discover UN peacekeeping efforts. Startup. After World War II, Britain, France, and the United States wanted an organization to ensure world peace. That's how the United Nations was created. The UN's main objectives are to maintain peace and security, promote equality, and solve global issues like poverty, health, and climate change. The UN's headquarters are in New York with regional offices in Geneva, Vienna, and Nairobi. The General Assembly, Security Council, and other bodies work to achieve the UN's goals. United Nations. The world faced two world wars, causing loss of life, property, and destruction. The First World War was fought from 1914 to 1918. It led to the creation of the League of Nations in 1919 to promote peace. But the League was not successful, and the Second World War broke out in 1939. In 1945, atom bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. About 3 lakh died and millions were homeless. After the war, Britain, France, and the United States wanted an organization to ensure world peace. So the United Nations (UN) was established on 24th October 1945. Representatives from 51 countries gathered in San Francisco to create the UN Charter outlining their objectives and principles. The primary goal of the UN is to maintain world peace and security by fostering friendly relations among the nations. India joined the UN on 30th October 1945. Do you know a total of 193 countries are members of the UN? Do you know the UN's official languages are English, Arabic, French, Chinese, Russian, and Spanish? Objectives. The objectives of UN are to maintain international peace and security, to promote equality among nations, to gain international support for solving economic, social, cultural, and other problems, to foster fundamental freedom and human rights in the world, to provide a common platform for developing human values, to prevent any kind of war. The UN symbol is a world map surrounded by olive branches on a blue background. The United Nations Environment Programme (UNEP) addresses environmental issues. Do you know the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by the General Assembly in 1948? It is the first that document highlighted the fundamental human rights that we must try to protect. To achieve these goals, member countries discuss and agree on common opinion. All countries must respect each other's sovereignty and rights. Members discuss war, development, nuclear power, global warming, poverty, health, and welfare of women and children. Currently, the UN has 193 member countries which believe in peaceful resolution of problems and avoid threats. All members must support the UN. The UN's headquarters are in New York with regional offices in Geneva, Vienna, and Nairobi.
Organs of the United Nations. The UN comprises six main bodies: the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, the Trusteeship Council, and the International Court of Justice and the Secretariat. Do you know Vijay Lakshmi Pandit became the president of the General Assembly in 1953?
The General Assembly. The General Assembly is the largest and the most important body of the United Nations. It consists of representatives of all the member nations. Each member has a right to participate and vote. The Assembly meets every year but can call emergency sessions if necessary. It meets from September to December and each country has one vote. Decisions are made by majority mandate. Important tasks like addressing international issues, peaceful dispute settlement, UN budgeting, and appointing non permanent members of the Security Council are taken by this assembly.
Security Council. The Security Council is an important UN organ. It is responsible for making decisions on international peace and security. It consists of 15 members. 10 members are temporary and elected from the UN's member nations every 2 years. The other 5 are permanent members: the USA, UK, Russia, France, and China. These permanent members have the veto power. It means any decision may be rejected by any of them. The Council's primary goal is to prevent disputes in the world.
The Economic and Social Council. This council aids the General Assembly in promoting economic growth and social progress everywhere. It discusses economic issues like poverty and illiteracy. The council has 54 members nominated by the General Assembly for 3-year terms. It meets in April and July. Each member has one vote, and decisions are made by majority.
The Trusteeship Council. Established in 1945, the Trusteeship Council supported countries under colonial rule in achieving freedom. By 1994, most countries gained independence, so the council was dissolved.
The International Court of Justice. This organ resolves international disputes. It was established in 1945. It is based in The Hague, Netherlands. The court's primary function is to provide legal advice to the UN for resolving disputes between nations. 15 judges are elected by the General Assembly and Security Council for 9-year terms.
The Secretariat. The Secretariat is responsible for handling all UN administrative work. Headed by the Secretary General, it manages records and files and provides documents required for meetings. Established in 1945, the first Secretary General was Trygve Lie of Norway, and the current Secretary General is Antonio Guterres. The UN has 6 official languages: English, French, Russian, Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic.
Specialized agencies of the UN. In addition to the organs mentioned above, the UN collaborates with other agencies. They are UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund; UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization; WHO, World Health Organization.
UNICEF. Established in 1946, UNICEF provided food, shelter, and medicines to children affected the Second World War. Based in New York, its main goal is to improve children's lives, especially those in developing countries and rural areas, by offering better education and health facilities. It also educates mothers to help them to improve their life. The Anganwadi program in India is run by UNICEF. UNESCO. Founded in 1945, UNESCO aims to improve people's life by improving schools. It promotes global cooperation in education, science, culture, and communication. Its headquarters are in Paris. WHO. Established in 1948, the World Health Organization focuses on public health. It educates people on hygiene, sanitation, and good habits to improve their health and well-being. WHO also works to control diseases in the world. Many health clinics in India, supported by WHO, educate people about polio, malaria, tuberculosis, etc. It also provides free medicines to the poor. The WHO headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland.
India and the UN. India signed the UN Charter and embraced its ideals in promoting world peace and security. The country supported freedom fighters and fought against racial discrimination in South Africa with the UN. India has provided medical assistance when required in any part of the world and participates in UN aid missions. The UN has facilitated peace in Congo, West Asia, and Palestine. India is an active supporter of the UN peacekeeping force and contributed to the maintenance of global peace and security.
Mind map. United Nations. UN formation. After World War II, founded 24th October 1945, 51 original member countries, India joined on 30th October 1945. Objectives to maintain international peace, promote equality among nations, solve global problems, foster human rights, develop human values, prevent future wars. Organs: General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, Trusteeship Council, which is dissolved, International Court of Justice, Secretariat. Specialized agencies: UNICEF, UNESCO, WHO. India and the UN. Active supporter, fights racial discrimination, provides medical assistance, participates in UN aid missions.
Chapter at a glance. The United Nations was created in 1945 to maintain world peace after two world wars. The UN has six main bodies: General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, Trusteeship Council, International Court of Justice, and Secretariat. The UN's main goal is to maintain international peace and security, promote equality, and solve global problems. The Security Council has 15 members, including 5 permanent members with veto power: USA, UK, Russia, France, and China. The International Court of Justice, based in The Hague, resolves international disputes and provides legal advice. Specialized UN agencies include UNICEF, UNESCO, and WHO, focusing on children's welfare, education, and health. The UN has its headquarters in New York and regional offices in Geneva, Vienna, and Nairobi. India is an active member of the UN, supporting peacekeeping missions and fighting against racial discrimination.